Many women in their 40s and 50s come to me and say, I'm eating healthy and I'm exercising more than I ever have, and I'm even using HRT to help with my hormones. So why am I still gaining weight? The truth is, weight gain in menopause isn't just about hormones, and it's not just about nutrition. It's actually a combination of understanding your metabolism and insulin. Peptides like GLP-1s are game changers because they actually retrain how your body handles food, blood sugar, and fat storage. So today I'm going to talk about how peptides step in and do some of the heavy lifting that diet and exercise and even HRT cannot do alone. You are listening to the Holistic Hormone Podcast, and I'm your host, Eleanor Duelley. I'm a naturopathic doctor and board-certified nutritionist. Here, you'll find a place to learn, feel listened to, and truly understand your body. I follow the foundations of naturopathy, and I work with your biology so you can see what's really going on and how to support it naturally. I will validate your experiences, explain the why behind your symptoms, and share ways to improve them without relying on medications. With almost 10 years of clinical practice, I've seen incredible changes when women combine knowledge with simple, natural tools, and my goal is to help you do the same. I am not a medical doctor, and this show is only for educational purposes. I do not treat, I do not diagnose, and I do not prescribe, but I do believe that your body is designed to work beautifully when given the right support. Well, now it's time to get started with today's topic. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Eleanor Duelley. I'm a naturopathic doctor and holistic hormone specialist, and I'm so glad that you joined me today for the episode about weight gain in menopause and peptides, how it all works together. By now, you have probably heard of these weight loss shots, peptides, semaglutide, tirzepatide. Some of the marketed names are things like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro. And there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding. So as a holistic practitioner, I want to explain what peptides do, how they can help you, what they're good for and what they're not good for, so that you can be better equipped to make a decision if it's a right fit for you or if you just want to learn more about your metabolism. So when women approach menopause, now I know a lot of people come in and they want some sort of test that tells them they're in perimenopause or they're in menopause or pre-menopause. Like, people kind of want to know that answer, and I usually ask them, what is it that you are going to do with this label? Because the label of menopause doesn't actually mean anything definitive in blood work, or it's not a diagnosis. It's simply the ceasing of ovulation and menstruation, which is a natural occurrence for a woman throughout her life. So getting that name on it doesn't really change anything about your care or the way that you the things that you do throughout your day or the way that you take care of yourself. What it tells me as a holistic hormone specialist is that if you are no longer ovulating and menstruating, it means that there's a shift in the hormones that your body's making. Your ovaries are not making as much estrogen for the fact of getting that egg fertilized. What happens is progesterone falls first, and then estrogen drops very sharply. The shift in the ratio between those two, progesterone and estrogen, is what causes the disruption in mood, in metabolism, in fat storage. And so it's important for us to understand it's not just that your body kind of falls apart or your hormones go haywire. It's the natural progression of how your body releases an egg and if that egg is to get fertilized or not. It's important to note that when we talk about estrogen, understanding that there are different types of estrogen. And so when we lump hormones into that one word, we're actually not really describing it correctly. So not all estrogens are the same. There's 3 types. There's estrone, and this estrogen is made from belly fat after menopause. It's a weaker, more inflammatory type of estrogen. Okay, we have estradiol, which is this robust, strong estrogen that's made from our ovaries every month when we ovulate. And then we release it before menstruation. And then there's estradiol, which is gentler and more calming, used mostly when the egg is fertilized. So the important thing to take away here is that when estradiol, which is the powerful and strong estrogen, starts to wane, the ovaries don't make as much estradiol and then eventually don't make any to support the egg getting fertilized. Estrone kind of takes over, and it's a much weaker, more inflammatory estrogen. So while it provides the need for estrogen to support bone health, heart health, brain health, and breast health, it is more inflammatory. So it's kind of a two-edged sword. It provides something that your body needs desperately, but it also in large amounts can be quite inflammatory. And estrone is what is causing that belly fat, because belly fat is its own endocrine gland. It can make its own estrone. So the body deems it as a way to fill in the gaps when your estradiol drops. Estrogen normally, estradiol, the strong estrogen, keeps your insulin sensitive and useful and helpful when balancing blood sugar. So you can use carbs for energy instead of storing them, because if there's weaker insulin around, there has to be a lot more of it to get the job done. And when there's too much insulin, what happens is it gets stored as fat. So you can see how it's a cycle. Insulin gets stored as fat. Fat produces estrone, which is the weaker, more inflammatory estrogen, which causes menopausal symptoms of weight gain and moodiness and hot flashes and things like that. So when estrogen drops, estradiol drops, insulin resistance rises. So this is why the same healthy meal now spikes your blood sugar when before it used to not do that. It's not that the food has changed. It's that the way that your body processes insulin and blood sugar has changed. Your body tries to help by creating this body fat, this belly fat, since fat tissue can make estrone, but belly fat is making the weaker, more inflammatory form of estrogen. So while some estrogen is better than none, it's kind of like you have this trade-off of, if I don't get my estrogen balanced, I'm going to create more body fat. And you and I both know that body fat, while it has a purpose, is inflammatory. It's harmful on our joints. We don't like the way that it looks. It makes our cardiovascular health suffers, our sleep suffers, our brain fog increases. So we get stuck in this vicious cycle of low producing estrogen. We have more insulin resistance, which leads to more belly fat, more estrone, and more symptoms. So this is where women kind of start breaking down. They come into my office and they say, my hormones are messed up. Menopause is catching up with me, or I'm experiencing menopause. So this is the association, but this is actually what is happening in the body. And in my practice, I focus on breaking that cycle. I use different forms of estrogen detox so that our estrone, estradiol, and estradiol, they don't accumulate So I make sure the detox pathways are open and functioning so the body makes it, it uses it, and then it can get it out. Because if we have an accumulation, that's where toxicity comes in and symptoms come in. So we want to make sure that you have metabolic support, that your insulin and blood sugar are balanced so that you have a good metabolism. You're not accumulating toxicity and you're not making body fat to support yourself. And as you can tell, this doesn't really have all that much to do with specifics of macronutrients, caloric intake, am I getting the right amount of fats and proteins and, I'm going to cut carbs and I'm going to cut out sugar. And I'm not saying that some of these practices aren't good for you, because we all know junk food is not good. We all know sugar's not good. We all know alcohol's not good, but we tend to blame it on those things rather than examining how our body is using regular food, vegetables, protein, carbohydrates, regular food. It's using it to make fat. It's not the old belief that, fat makes fat. I think that was something when I grew up, when the no fat or low fat diets were a thing. Cutting calories. In some respects, this is necessary, right? If we severely overeat calories that our body doesn't need, it will store it as fat. But for the most part, if you're listening to this podcast or if you've worked with me, you kind of have a good understanding of, I know junk food is junk for me. That's not what's happening. I have a pretty good diet, not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I have a pretty good diet. I really take care of protein and I do strength training, and I'm still gaining weight, or I can't lose it. So, really what's important to understand is if you get a handle on the balance, okay, so the way that when estrogen goes away because our ovaries stop functioning the way that they used to, what the fallout from that is. And that is why peptides are so helpful. They're very protective. So let me get into what GLP-1s are. You've probably by now heard of the weight loss shots. GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, is a natural hormone that is released in your gut after you eat a meal. Okay, it's made in the body and it has a purpose. The thing is, when it's naturally produced by the L cells deep down in your gut, they are effective at telling your brain that you are full, but they're only effective for about 1 to 2 minutes before fading. So this is why it's kind of easy to override. You've probably been there where you're sitting at a restaurant and you're just eating the most delicious meal, and you get that little inclination. You're like, oh gosh, I'm full, right? But you look down at your plate and you're like, oh my gosh, there's 3 or 4 more bites of this. It's going to be fantastic. And you choose to override because you want to either finish what's on your plate, or it's so good you don't want the experience to be over. Whatever the reason is, you are overriding that GLP-1 that your body made to tell you to stop eating. And usually 10 to 20 minutes later, we're sitting there going, oh gosh, why did I eat so much, right? It's a gentle reminder, and it's a nutrition tool. It's a tool to tell you, you can stop. There's no more calories needed. We got what we needed from this meal. Now let us digest and absorb and use the food. So fullness it's a powerful tool that we can use to recognize. But unfortunately, in our day and age of really tasty food, we tend to override it just because. So as a nutritional support, what adding an additional GLP-1 into your system will do is it keeps that hormone available and telling your brain when you are full, but it doesn't last 1 to 2 minutes. It actually lasts for almost a week. So what's really kind of cool about that is you eat till you're full, and then that override switch isn't as easy to overcome. The GLP-1 will curb your appetite so that you are really in tune with how much food you actually need. And when you are full, it stops you from eating more because it doesn't feel good. That delayed sense of the 10, 20 minutes later that you're like, oh my gosh, I ate too much. That is actually fast forward to the present. So it prevents you from overeating. And it slows down your digestion so that your blood sugar can be more controlled. The blood sugar or the glucose that gets released into your bloodstream slows down because it will gently release glucose into your blood instead of dumping it if you eat a lot at once. So not only quantity, but if you were to eat, let's say, a cupcake, which has a lot of sugar, it's going to have a huge glucose dump into your bloodstream because there's a lot of glucose to deal with. On a GLP-1, that will slowly break down in the stomach and release slowly into the bloodstream, which means you don't need as much insulin at one time, and which means that excess insulin and excess glucose will not turn to fat. It slows everything down, and this is what improves insulin sensitivity. This is why your body won't store those extras as fat. It actually uses them for energy, and that's it. Peptides or GLP-1s address the root cause of the symptoms of menopausal weight gain, because insulin resistance, cravings, blood sugar swings, and belly fat storage are managed so much better. And by reducing this fat, the GLP-1 lowers the burden to make extra estrone, which is the inflammatory estrogen. So this is how it all works together. Now, peptides are protective. They're made in the body for a purpose. So using them, adding them into your body, whether it's through injection, oral drops, you're adding in something that your body already makes, but you're adding in more so that it lasts longer and you can feel the effects longer. It offers cellular protection because it reduces oxidative stress. It slows down the wear and tear on your body, the effects of aging. It offers a metabolic reset, which keeps insulin sharp. If insulin is sharp, it keeps that balance between glucose and insulin moving well and not stuck in fat storage. You get brain benefits because you get, it helps with satiety and focus and your mood. It helps with brain fog. It helps with liver and gut support. So peptides all around, and specifically GLP-1s, are very protective for the body. This is why I use a lab. I'm affiliated with one called Ellie MD, ELLIE space MD. Their products are prescription grade. So what that basically means is if you are ordering peptides online from an online distributor and they're research grade, it means that they're not fit for human consumption. That's actually what the definition is. So if you're getting GLP-1s or you're not sure where to get them, I can give you a link where you're going to get safe peptides. They're made in the USA. They're partnered with a 503A compounding pharmacies, which means that these pharmaceutical grade ingredients are FDA approved. It's basically the sort of legalese mumbo jumbo that we kind of overlook. But I do want you to understand that not all peptides are equal. And sometimes people call me and they ask about dosing and they ask about, I'm on this much, is that, that much? And it just depends on where it's made. It depends on where it's compounded. It depends on the potency. So compounded peptides themselves are not FDA approved. So you need to make sure you're getting them from a clean source. So if you have questions about that, please reach out. I'm happy to share what I've been using, what I share with my clients, and their success stories. Peptides are very protective in the body, so they're not stopping any body systems. They're actually supporting the systems that are already functioning and making you physically more aware of how that metabolism and fat storage and fat usage is working. I've seen firsthand how frustrating it can be to do everything right. Through the years, I studied nutrition for many, many years. I've tried all of the diets. I've read the research on each of the diets and how they work. And over time, shifts in estrogen they do. They throw off insulin, they throw off blood sugar, and suddenly the same habits that you used to get healthy stop working like they used to. And it feels really defeating to eat clean, to check your macros, to log your food, and to increase strength training or join boot camps or CrossFit or things that used to work for you, and you're not seeing any change on the scale. A lot of women think peptides are really just appetite suppressants, and they're so much more than that, which is why I use them in my functional health practice. GLP-1s actually retrain your body on how it handles food and blood sugar and fat, and they make your metabolism more efficient. It makes your cells more resilient, and your body is stronger and better balanced. This is why women often notice their inflammation goes down a lot, if not disappears. They have less stress on their joints. They have smoother digestion, better bowel movements, and fewer cravings for things like alcohol or sugar or things that used to be an issue. But here's the thing. Women who only use peptides without supporting their metabolism through proper nutrition and strength training, those are the women that might see muscle wasting. They might see dependence on higher dosing to get the same effects. And these are also the women that look like they're wasting away. It's not the peptides' fault. It's actually because peptides are just a tool that are used to help understand the foundations of nutrition and digestion. Peptides aren't a forever thing either. They're a supplemental tool that gets your biology back to an optimal output. Combined with clean nutrition and proper detoxing, which you know is my number one thing, and encouraging healthy habits, because once your metabolism recovers and rebalances, you can slowly step away from peptides. And because you have this training in effect, the peptides are just a tool that you use occasionally. It would be kind of like a supplement. If you're deficient in vitamin D and you take a vitamin D supplement and then your vitamin D gets to healthy levels, then you can step back from taking the supplement. The reason you have a deficiency isn't because you're not taking a supplement. So we need to get in the mindset of not replacing a supplement, not inserting a supplement every time we have a deficiency, but understanding what the deficiency is. And this is why I took the time to explain when our bodies naturally stop producing as much estrogen, stepping in with a GLP-1 to support your weight management is really a creative and healthy and protective tool. In conclusion, my friends, weight gain in menopause, it's not your fault and it's not an inevitability. It doesn't have to happen to every person. And peptides are more than a weight loss tool. They're protective, they're practical, they help your body adapt when your ovaries are trying to figure out how to retire. When your hormones shift, peptides can step in, not just to manage weight, but to support your energy, your balance, and your long-term health. Now, I always remind women, peptides are not magic. They're very helpful and effective, but they are best when combined with the right nutrition and strength training. And if you're listening and wondering, well, I'd really like to kind of check this out, I offer a free consult where we can talk through your unique situation, your symptoms. And in my practice, I use things like Dutch hormone testing. I use functional blood work analysis to really get the full picture of what your metabolism is doing, what your hormones are doing, how they're reacting. And from there, I can build a unique plan that is structured for your body. And that's why it's so effective. I've walked alongside many women through this time in their life, women that were frustrated because they were doing everything right. They just didn't have all of the tools lined up and being effectively used. What they found is that with the right guidance and the right support, it's possible to feel strong again during these years without having to diet harder. I hate dieting harder. It's the worst. So if you're struggling, I want you to know that there's hope. Even if you don't use peptides, there's many other options that understanding this balance that can help you. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope this episode gave you some clarity and encouragement, especially if you're struggling with weight gain during menopause. Even if you're not in menopause, these GLP-1s are protective peptides that can help you balance your blood sugar. If you're curious about whether functional labs, peptides, hormone testing, or gut testing can support you, I'd love to talk to you. Head over to my website, eleanorduelley.com, and get on my calendar for a free consultation where I can walk you through how these tools are effective and can help you. And I hope you remember, you are never broken. Your body is speaking. It's just time to listen. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Holistic Hormone Podcast. My goal is to give you a place where you can learn, feel heard, and understand your body in a way that empowers you to take action. If today's episode gave you a new perspective or something to think about, I'd love for you to share it with another woman who might need it. And if you're ready to explore your own health more deeply, you can learn more about my programs, resources, and upcoming events at eleanorduelley.com. Just a reminder, I am not a medical doctor. This podcast is for educational purposes only. I do not treat, diagnose, or prescribe, but I believe your body is designed to work beautifully when it has the right support. Until next time, thank you for joining me, and remember, your body was made to thrive.